Christmas for a while, and then my mum used to go for only 6 weeks.
Rebuilding a life certain to take much longer. Brianna Shepherd, ABC News, Perth.
Getting into university for people with a disability is already a hard road, but once they're there, for many, it just gets even harder. Students with disability across the country are calling for higher education to offer fairer access. Alicia Steele, who lives with an often hidden disability, has this report.
Sophie Barlow is studying to become a psychologist, but her journey has been rough.
When I showed up for the first week, I couldn't access literally 2 out of 3 of my classes.
For most of the semester, this bridge to her tutorials has been blocked.
You haven't used my bookmark.
Not yet, no. I'm still reading the book I was then. I then
Melbourne
again, no,
student
weeks
Adam
ago.
Whitehead
Yeah,
knows
That's
the feeling all
offensive.
too well. He
he's
has
still
no
there
vision
waiting to be
and was
used.
told
Layla,
his
I made
course
bookmarks
content would
for
be
her.
formatted so a computer could read it out loud.
And I made a
But
car
often didn't happen on
with a
time
little gel sticker that I made.
for
Nice.
need readings outside the basic ones.
Can I go in the
Leaving him no
bedroom?
choice but to drop out
Actually,
in some
dinner will be ready
classes.
soon. I want to check this
Although
out.
the bedroom's actually got set up with
Get further and
Georgie
further
and stuff.
behind with classes.
Under the Disability Discrimination Act,
You can
universities
sit on
are
my
required
side.
to provide fair
Dinner's
access
ready.
to all
Right.
students. But
Dinner's
there are
ready.
concerns not
Jan, I
all
want to put
are
it through a
stepping
little
up
bit longer.
Oh,
Hey, you don't want to undercook things.
Layla, come on.
Access needs, but it is something that's improving.
It is such a huge
it smells like squids. They look pretty.
Yeah, I reckon 5 minutes. Just like it.
4.
Nice and
5.
5.
Oh,
It's more than just a degree that's at stake.
Without higher education, my employability prospects are limited.
Alicia Steele, ABC News.
Riots have shut down parts of Dublin city centre after the stabbing of at least 4 people, including 3 children. Clashes between protesters and police left some officers injured. A double-decker bus and car was set alight. Irish police have blamed far-right anti-immigration elements for the unrest. A man in his 40s has been arrested in relation to the initial stabbings, in which a 5-year-old girl and woman in her 30s was seriously hurt. More than 40 days after the election, New Zealand is ready to form a new government with a deal that will see the country led by an historic 3-party coalition. The new power trio stepped up today with National Party leader Chris Luxon to become Prime Minister, whose coalition partners Winston Peters of New Zealand First and David Seymour of the far-right ACT Party will each take a spell in the deputy PM role. All 3 agree on plans to wind back the use of Maori language and to review the interpretation of New Zealand's founding document, the Treaty of Waitangi. The World Health Organization says Chinese authorities have not detected any unusual viruses circulating despite a growing wave of respiratory disease across the country. Recent videos published on local media show large numbers of children in hospital waiting rooms. China's government has requested those experiencing mild symptoms to remain home to relieve pressure on the hospital system. The spike in respiratory illnesses comes as China braces for its first full winter since it lifted COVID-19 restrictions last December. Australian banks have finally agreed to check account names on bank transfers as part of an industry pledge to stop scammers. The new code comes into effect after years of concerns from consumer advocates who think Australia has become a honeypot for scammers.
Australians are losing $3 billion a year to scammers. Now, the banks that facilitate these dodgy transactions are pledging to do more.
All banks are on board, all customer-owned banks are on board, and the point is we've got to lift the industry to a standard.
Banks are going to share information, put limits on transfers to high-risk cryptocurrency platforms, delay some transactions to new accounts, and name-check account details to help customers spot a scammer.
This is an Australian first, and it will keep customers safer.
Although it all comes too late for Bill Hall, who lost $26,000 when he paid an invoice that he thought was to his builder.
It's great that it's happening, but it seems that they had to be dragged kicking and screaming into doing this.
Victim advocates are worried that banks can take up to 2 years to implement these changes.
In the meantime, scammers are innovating. They're still trying to steal customers' money.
And there is still no commitment on mandatory reimbursement.
The final piece of the puzzle in addressing the scams crisis in this country is mandatory liability on banks for reimbursing their customers' scams losses.
The banks are announcing this plan as the federal government also seeks to bring in new scam laws. They'll also target social media companies and telcos, which are allowing scammers to get in contact with Australians.
There's got to be a team Australian moment.
Are you recording the
We've all
video?
got to work together. Unless we get all parts of the ecosystem
Is this
working
recording?
together. We won't beat the scammers.
Bill Hall hopes that others don't end up in his position. Amelia Terzon, ABC News.
Finance and the share market ended its day with a very small gain, propped up by utilities and energy stocks.
Instead of putting it in the back room, but it
It's
hasn't
been a
got
pretty
there
up
yet.
and down week for the share market. And one reason why is that oil prices have been all over the place. From a 4-month low when the week began to a big jump on speculation that Saudi Arabia may announce further supply cuts to prop up its margins. And then there was that big drop yesterday because OPEC postponed its meeting to the end of this month, as the countries in that cartel can't seem to agree on production levels and by how much to influence prices. The good news is that oil is unlikely to hit $100 a barrel, which was a real concern a couple of months ago. And its overall downward trajectory means petrol prices should come down and contribute to a weaker inflation result from the ABS next week. So oil is still volatile and down again, but gold prices are doing well and getting pretty close to $2,000 an ounce once again. Meanwhile, it was a quiet day for the share market, which rose by just 0.1% this afternoon, despite strong gains from Whitehaven Coal and Origin Energy. Over the entire week, the market is down very slightly. Overseas, Wall Street was closed for Thanksgiving Day, while there were big falls in Hong Kong